What's up, guys? I am Symmetry. I'm a trophy hunter. I have been for about 3 to 4 years now, with my first platinum being Rime, which was a interesting choice, let's be real. I enjoy my trophy hunting, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video here, and hence why I'm bald at 25. The plan today is to essentially just go through my list of platinums and give a yarn about sort of what I thought about them, what I thought of their trophies. Some very good, some are Resident Evil Resistance, and yeah, discuss them. So let's just jump right in. Alrighty, and so for game number 1 on the list here, we have Plague Tale Innocence. This is a fantastic game set in medieval France. You essentially play as a young lady who is escorting her younger brother through battlefields and rat nests. The trophies are based around how you handle those scenarios and upgrade your equipment. It's a really good game. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the sequel when it comes out. Highly recommend this one. Game number 2, Alien Isolation. This is a game that I know my friends at Missing Collectible really enjoy. I love it myself. I do think it goes on a little too long. The trophies are kind of poo though. They require you to do things like beat the game without dying, beat the game without killing people, beat the game killing people, die 100 times. There's a lot of playthroughs in it. Still highly recommend it. You can get through a playthrough once you know what you're doing in around 5 hours or so. Absolutely fantastic game. Really wish they'd done more with that series. Game number 3 here, Alien Fireteam Elite. I'm still working on this with a couple of mates. Really good game. It's essentially a Left 4 Dead clone, but in the Alien universe. You have different classes of Marines. A lot of the trophies are based around getting kills, beating the game on multiple difficulties. Naturally, the difficulty trophies don't stack, so that sucks. But the game itself is pretty fantastic. Game number 4 here is the Amnesia Collection. This is a unique one for me. I had never played them before, so I went into that fairly blind. I'm aware that they've since released a DLC that is the hardest difficulty or something. I'll get back to that at some point, but the games themselves are really good. The first game in the collection, fantastic, really enjoyed it. The second game was like a DLC or something, like a standalone DLC. It was pretty good as well. It was the hardest part of the collection from memory. It was like a escape room kind of thing from memory. And then Wrath of Pigs or Machine of Pigs or whatever the third game is, which I think is technically the second game. Can you tell I don't do scripts? Is kind of crap, not gonna lie. It's sort of the weakest link of that collection, but still an overall good collection. The trophies are essentially just getting a lot of collectibles, getting through the game without dying from memory was one of them. Solving some puzzles at different scenarios. Your standard horror trophy list, really. Essentially just a carbon copy of Alien Isolation, really. Next game up, Apex Legends, 2 stacks of it. I'm not a massive Battle Royale fan, but I have a serious addiction to Apex Legends. That game is amazing. I do wish it had a platinum. The game itself is terrific. The trophies are very, very easy. It's essentially get some wins with different character classes, get a total of damage with different characters. I think it's 5,000 from memory. And then just, you know, be the jump master, have the most kills on the map at a certain point. All that fun stuff. Very, very simple, very, very easy. Next up is Ark Survival Evolved. Don't play this one on console. It does not run well. The menus are very clunky. It's not enjoyable. I know that there are console commands you can do, but I wouldn't recommend Ark Survival. I think it's the first game on this list that is very, very not recommendable, in all honesty. So the next game up here is Ashen. Ashen is like an indie Dark Souls, essentially. I really like the art style of this. It's kind of got like a water painting art style thing, I guess. It's your standard Dark Souls kind of trophy list, you know. beat some bosses in an order, get some weapons. It's got this really cool mechanic actually where you build like a village over time. So you start the game and it's like the ruins of a village. And as you progress through the game and do certain achievements, the village grows. And so you've got this hub area on the map that is a really cool concept. It's a shame that the DLC absolutely blows. That DLC sucks. I can't recommend the DLC, but the base game is fantastic. I will go back and finish it one day. Essentially, all I really have left is the final boss in the DLC, the final boss in the base game, and then you've got to beat it on hard mode, which I've heard is a lot easier in co-op. I think there's like some workaround where one of you is on the hardest difficulty and one of you is on normal difficulty, and it scales appropriately to each person. Personally, I'll probably end up doing it with some mates from the Discord. Do join the Discord if you are interested in trophy content. Always be plugging. And yeah, I'll get it done at some point. Alrighty, and now we get into my first guilty pleasure series, Assassin's Creed. I love them. They're trash. I love them. But the first one here, Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry, it started as a DLC for Black Flag. You essentially play as Adewale, a character from Black Flag, as he goes around and liberates a lot of slave colonies. Really good game. Very standard Assassin's Creed list, let's be real. Jump into some hay bales, stab some dudes. It's all around a good time. It's nice and short. Highly recommend Freedom Cry. Assassin's Creed 2 is next. Absolutely adore this one. This was one of my first platinums from way back in the day. Very easy trophy list. You're essentially stabbing some dudes, jumping in hay bales, getting PTSD from feathers. Great story, great game, highly recommend it. You may notice, actually, I don't have Brotherhood and Revelations on my trophy list yet. I do own them. I have got the platinums in them previously on other accounts. I'll get to it. I love Brotherhood. It's probably one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games. Definitely top 4. So they'll be coming in the near future. I just have a backlog of like 230 games or something ridiculous. So someday. Next up is Assassin's Creed 3. One of my least favorite games to trophy hunt in. I have a couple really bad games that were just miserable, and Assassin's Creed 3 is one of them. I don't like this game. The story's interesting. The trophy list sucks. It's very bloated. It's very long-winded, but it's long-winded in that the stuff you've got to do takes a while. It's not like Valhalla where you can kind of turn your brain off and just hope it ends soon. This is one you're in the long haul for. There's a game called Thangarama or something in it. It's like a checkers from Madagascar or something. I remember I had to like full on properly learn the game to beat that trophy. I did like one thing I liked in it, again, like Ashen, it's got like a homestead sort of system that you build up your homestead. That's a pretty cool concept, but otherwise skip Assassin's Creed 3. It's not worth it. Next up, we've got Black Flag. As you can see, I only recently just got this platinum because I'm lazy and it had multiplayer. Fantastic game, one of my favorite of the Assassin's Creed series. Very standard trophy list. Stab some dudes, jump in hay bales, get drunk. Standard pirate and or Australian stuff. Yeah, highly recommend this one. The multiplayer actually can be done very quickly. There's a post on PSMP where the dude recommends a bench method where you get 4 people and just stab one another on benches. And I think we got through the multiplayer in like 4 hours. So definitely get onto that. Shout out to the random guy from PSMP. Good job. The next game here is Liberation. Not good. I did like the social stealth system that they had, I guess you would call it. Essentially, I think her name was Madeline from memory, dresses up in different outfits to get through different social scenarios. So you dress up as a proper fancy lady to get through, you know, balls and all that sort of stuff. but you then have, you know, she dresses up as a rogue to get through the night streets and all that sort of fun stuff. Good game. And the Bayou, good game. I recommend it, but it's very, very short, and it did come out on Vita, so if you're playing it on PS4, it feels like a Vita game. The next one up here is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, my least favorite Assassin's Creed. I find it hard to even call this game an Assassin's Creed. I feel like if they had merged this and Immortals Phoenix Rising into its own standalone game off in the corner over there, the game would have been pretty good, but no, they called this an Assassin's Creed. It has no assassins. It has no creed. Definitely the bottom of the list. Standard trophy list. Are you really expecting anything more at this point? Stab some dudes, maybe jump in a hay bale, and throw your ship around in the ocean. Don't like it. Assassin's Creed Origins, however, I love this game. I think Bayek is an amazing character. As someone who thought Egypt was going to be very boring, it's very boring, but some of the areas in it are actually pretty interesting. Crocodilopolis, I think it's called, the like hub area, the main city in the south. That's a really cool area. I definitely had a lot of fun causing havoc there. The trophy list is very standard. It does have one sucky trophy where you've got to go and explore every question mark on the map. And let me tell you, there's a lot of them, but I do recommend this one. And now we move into Assassin's Creed Rogue. I'm just starting to notice that there is a hell of a lot of Assassin's Creeds on this list. I might have an addiction. Send help. Assassin's Creed Rogue, they flip the tables. They do something unspeakable. They make you a Templar. I know. And by that I mean they just swap the title of Assassin and Templar and you do the exact same stuff. It's okay, very middle of the pack in terms of Assassin's Creeds in my opinion. Standard trophy list, jump off hay bales, stab some dudes. At this point I may as well just get that written on the wall behind me. You know, I've said it that many times. That's motivational to me at this point. I recommend the game, but there are better Assassin's Creeds. Black Flag 4. The next one here is Assassin's Creed Syndicate. It's the last of the traditional Assassin's Creeds. I wish it wasn't the last of the traditional Assassin's Creeds. It's okay. That game would have been very much better had it just been Eevee, in my opinion, because the story is interesting. But Jacob, so you play as two characters. You play as two siblings, Jacob and Evie Fry, as they stab and jump off hay bales. Shocker. And Jacob is kind of just there to have a male character, and it doesn't really work. The game would have been a lot better if it had been Evie and explored her taking over London, which I think is what the devs originally wanted to do, just based on how the story works. It's got a train, so if you like the fellas at Missing Collectible, shameless plug is shameless, go and subscribe to them. You like the trains, but otherwise it doesn't really offer anything. And next up, controversial opinion, Assassin's Creed Unity is the best Assassin's Creed game. I know, I can hear you beating down the door. No, bear with me a little bit longer. I can explain it. It's set in revolutionary France. It's a great game. It's got a great story. The villain is kind of underutilized, which is a Assassin's Creed trend at this point. But I think that the game itself has by far and away the best parkour. It's got the most detailed world. It's not as glitchy as it was at launch. I will admit, at launch it was unplayable. In 2022, there's this miracle that they come out with periodically called patches, and they did fix the game, so it's not a buggy mess anymore. You might come across a graphical glitch, but you know, that's not going to affect your gameplay. The DLC kind of sucks. There is co-op. You can do most of the co-op solo, and there is a rough chest grind. You've got to go and unlock 432 chests or something like that, which, looking back on it now in 2022, boy, I wish we only had 422 chests these days. I just recently did most of Skywalker Saga, where there was 1,166 collectibles. And boy, I wish they'd just been chests. Assassin's Creed Unity, amazing game. Highly, highly recommend that one. And the last Assassin's Creed on my list, we've done it. If you are still here through the Assassin's Creed phase, thank you. I'm sending cyber hugs. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is very disappointing in my opinion. I wanted to like this one. I like medieval history. I like England. So good combo. I like Vikings. And boy, is that game kind of just middle of the road. It's got a lot of DLC at this point. I've only played 2 of the DLC. The first one, Wrath of the Druids, sucked. I was really excited for it because I thought Island and Druids was going to be a really good combo. There wasn't any Guinness, so 0 out of 10, can't recommend that DLC. The second DLC, Siege of Paris, awesome. I wish the base game story had been Siege of Paris. It's really interesting. Almost worth playing the game just for that DLC. And I think they've done some mystical Ragnarok DLC since. There's a lot of collectibles, a lot of open world filler that Ubisoft is really good at this point. It's a hard one to me. I want to recommend Valhalla, but I can't really. If you like collectibles, if you're one of those people, you might like the game. You might. But there are better Assassin's Creeds and there are better open world games. So if you're bored, go for it. If you have standards, don't. And that's it. We're done the Assassin's Creed. So, alrighty. And now we get into the variety of games. I swear I just don't platinum. I don't platinum only Assassin's Creeds. I pinky promise. Anyway, Astrobots is up next, or Astro's Playroom rather. Boy, I wish I could read. It's the first of the PS5 Platinums that I got. It's an amazing game. It's like a little platformer that harkens back to Sony's history. I love it. Very simple. Get all the collectibles. Do some speed runs. They're very lenient speed runs. I beat most of them like first or second try. Highly recommend that game if you've got a PS5. It comes built in with the PS5 from memory. So what are you waiting for? Go get that ding. The next one here is Arkham Asylum. I'm not good at the Arkham games. I'm not good at that combat. It took years and a lot of assistance from mates to get there in the end. The Predator challenge that I got the platinum on, I think the 6 or so people in that voice call were all holding their breath, including me, as the last guy frantically spun in circles and I frantically screamed. But highly recommend that game and the rest of the series. They are very good. The trophies are essentially just get through the game, do all the Riddler challenges. There's a lot of them. Nothing compared to Assassin's Creed collectibles, but there's a lot of Riddler stuff. And then you've got the challenges, the combat challenges, and then the stealth challenges. Overall, highly recommend that game. Now we move into the Telltale games. I've got both Batmans. I'm not a big superhero person, but I do like Batman. The Telltale games here, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not a big Telltale person. I find that style of game kind of a bit dull to me. If I was going to watch a story, I'd just go watch a movie. I get why people really like them though. They are good games. Not for me personally, so I didn't really enjoy either of these. I only really did the first one because it came on PS Plus from memory. And then I did the second one because I wanted to complete the series. The trophies are essentially just beat the game. It's nothing difficult. Next up here is Battlefield 5. I'm going to be honest, I actually love Battlefield 5. The campaign and the single player is kind of crap. Very, very uninspired first-person campaign. Some cool settings, you know, you do some skiing, you do some desert stuff, but it's stuff we've seen before in other games and in better Battlefield games. Battlefield 1, for example, has a great campaign. I'll get that platinum at some point, maybe. The whole server stuff for the DLC kind of puts me off a little bit. But Battlefield 5 was a great game. It was free on PS Plus. If it's still got enough active people, which I assume it does given how awful the new Battlefield is, I'd say give it a go. It's fun. I recommend it. And if I give this a quick scroll, we've got Bioshock next. I've done the series. I still have Bioshock 2's DLC left. I'm very lazy. I really like Bioshock 1. Bioshock 2 is kind of middle of the road in my opinion. It's essentially just a sequel to Bioshock 1. The DLC is very, very good, but otherwise kind of forgettable. And then Bioshock Infinite, I'm not as big a fan of personally. It's got a really awful combat arena DLC that sucked. I hated every second of it. But the trophy list in all of them is very easy. Bioshock 1 and 2 have a lot of take some selfies with the bad guys, kill the bad guys in different ways, upgrade your equipment. Very simple, stand-of-the-road action sort of stuff, but, you know, absolute bangers of a campaign. Would you kindly like and subscribe to this video? Bioshock Infinite, its story's kind of confusing. I'm just gonna say it. I see a lot of people love the DLC and say it's the best Bioshock content because it ties in the series really well. In my opinion, the DLC sucks. If you weren't kicking my door in about Assassin's Creed Unity, you've now got a battering ram against the door. I'll fight back. Yeah, I'll hold back. But no, it's a good game. It's average. I don't think they really deserve that 6 out of 10 difficulty that you see there. It's probably more of like a 4 out of 10, but they're fun games. Next up is Bloodborne. This is one that I've been doing on and off on stream, twitch.tv/symmetry, always be plugging. I really love this game. I have the platinum and the 100% on an old account from way back in the day. But it's a fun game. It's one of the best PS4 exclusives. It's a Souls game. Move through the game, kill all of the bosses, get all of the weapons, do all of the things, and the platinum is good as yours. There's nothing too complicated. It's a fairly cruisy Souls one in that you don't really have too much in the way of missable trophies. So I highly recommend it. I would say it's probably a very good starting point for the Souls series. Next up is Borderlands 3. If you look at the Borderlands games that I have on my account, I've played Borderlands 1 and 2 for context. Apparently I just picked the bad ones to do on Symmetry because I have the Platinum and the first Season Pass 100%ed on 3. I don't like Borderlands 3. I haven't done Season Pass 2. I haven't bought Season Pass 2. I've heard it's kind of poo, so I'm going to wait for a deep sale. But I'll get to it. It just wasn't as good as Borderlands 1, 2, or the pre-sequel in all honesty. Which, speaking of Borderlands the Pre-Sequel, if ever a game made Australians sound awful, it's Borderlands the Pre-Sequel. I don't like this one. The characters you play as are very bland. The world itself is really bland. It's a moon. What are you going to do with the moon? The DLC though is actually pretty banging for Borderlands the Pre-Sequel. You go into Claptrap's mind. There's an Order 66 from Star Wars parody. One of the trophies glitched and didn't pop for me, so I need to do the entire game again, hence why I stopped playing it. But overall, just go and play Borderlands 1 and 2. You're going to be a lot more happy for it. Let's move on. Let's get away from that. Let's escape. The next up is Bugsnax. Adore this game. Another early PS5 game for me. You run around, you capture the bug food people, you feed them to your people, they then transform into those bug foods. It's an amazing game. It's very simple, it's very short, but it's got a lot of charm. The DLC was very fun as well. I sort of played it at an opportune time where the DLC had just come out, so I was able to sort of transition from the base game to the DLC. It's got one super grindy trophy where the DLC introduces like a house building mechanic, and you've got to do random daily quests, or not daily, but you get random quests from the villagers to get rewards for your house, and you need one of each category of decoration, which is up to chance. And if you're like me, you're going to do 60 of them before you get your final house decoration. But overall, highly recommend that game. It was an absolute blast. Next up is Bulletstorm. Bulletstorm's a funny game. It's a first-person shooter from 2011. And yeah, it couldn't be made today. Some of the things they say in that game are very, not great. But the actual gameplay in it's very solid. The trophy list is actually very straightforward. It's kind of undeserving of its 2% platinum trophy, in all honesty. You essentially play through the campaign a couple of times, get all the different types of kills, and there is a lot of different types of kills. Get all of the collectibles, there's a few different types, and then there's a lot of like time trials and combat scenarios, both of which you will probably beat first or second try. They're very simple. There is one co-op trophy that takes about an hour to an hour and a half to do. It's probably what puts a lot of people off, but overall, I would recommend the game, but it is a little bit offensive. So do keep that in mind. The next game here is Burly Men at Sea, also known as Me on a Boat. I did it because it was free on PS Plus. It's okay. It's charming. I don't really remember anything about it, if I'm perfectly honest. Clearly, I didn't like it enough to beat it in the 3 hours that the guide gave it, because it took me 14, nearly 15 hours. So either I have no skill, or the game was a little bit boring. But it's okay. Yeah, it's charming. You're trying to solve a message in a bottle from memory. I don't really know. I recommend it, maybe not. And alrighty, now we're into the seas with Call of Cthulhu up first. It is a Lovecraftian investigation game. You're a detective that goes to an island to solve a murder. The trophies are very straightforward. Get all the collectibles. And there's like a certain thing you've got to do in each chapter, get through places undetected, solve things in very different ways. I did have a trophy glitch on me. I did have a trophy not register. I'd got some of the collectibles, I had got them, so I did have to do an entire second playthrough, which I think you've got to do, from memory, I think you've got to do a full playthrough, a partial playthrough, and then the platinum's yours. I had to do 2 full playthroughs and that partial playthrough, so that really sucked. But the game's okay. I think in terms of Lovecraftian PlayStation games, Sinking City is a hell of a better game, but this one's okay. And now we get into my next big guilty series that I love, the Call of Duties. You'll see I don't have a lot of platinums at 100% here. Zombies is the answer to that. Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 4, Black Ops Cold War, Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare, all don't have their platinums because I haven't done the zombies. I'm lazy. I can do them. I am slowly working through them. You can see that Black Ops 4 there is one that I've sort of been working on and off with a few people, including some of the fellas from Missing Collectible. Advanced Warfare is a fun one. It's like a futuristic jetpacky sort of one. It was what inspired Black Ops 3. Kevin Spacey is the bad guy, which that's aged well. Black Ops 4, it doesn't have a campaign. It's got it's the first one to have a battle royale. It's kind of the predecessor to Warzone. It's okay. The zombies is kind of very middle of the road for me. We're slowly working through it at the moment. The Titanic map can go to hell. I hated that, but the game is okay. I'm just not very good at it. Cold War, I want to like more than I do. It's a sequel to Black Ops 1, and I think Black Ops 2 to an extent. Woods, Mason, all the fun ones are back, but it's okay. I didn't think the campaign was that special. The zombies is the reason why Vanguard Zombie sucks as bad as it does, so I can't really recommend Cold War that much, if I'm honest. Black Ops 3, best zombies campaign where you need like a university degree to know what the hell is going on, but it's It's okay. It's one I'm slowly working through. I've done all the hard stuff. I've done realistic difficulty and getting through the game on veteran without dying and all of the accolade stuff and the weapon grind. I literally just am too lazy to do the zombies. That's all that's between me and the plat. So I'll get to it at some point, you know. I'll probably after Black Ops 4, realistically. Infinite Warfare. Low-key think this is one of the best CODs. You're going to notice that my opinion on COD games is I'm very by myself. I think Infinite Warfare is a great game. I think the campaign is really, really good. If you like Titanfall 2 and you liked Halo and you like space combat, game for you. Very, very fun. The zombies is actually really good as well. It's one that I play a lot more casually, obviously, hence why I don't have a trophy in a year. But I do recommend it. I actually think it's quite a good one. Modern Warfare Remastered, great game, simple trophy list. We all know that the Modern Warfare series is amazing. You've got Remastered and 2 Remastered immediately below it. More terrific games right there. Awesome campaigns, soap, price, memorable characters. I'm pretty sure that these games are like everyone's childhood at this point. Unless you didn't play COD, of course. Boy, that's an awkward transition into Vanguard, which I actually think that Vanguard's campaign... Vanguard is a game of 2 halves. Vanguard's first half, the campaign, amazing. I thought it was really, really fun, very unique. It was a game where they actually got Australians right. I find a lot of Australians in games, Fuse from Apex, for example, are kind of unbelievable. I thought Vanguard did a better job at it, even if the character that it was based on in real life wasn't actually Australian. But the campaign itself is very unique. You're going for a variety of locations. The multiplayer it's Call of Duty multiplayer. You've seen one, you've seen them all. The zombies, however, is the most bare bones crap I have ever seen. That is the reason it took me a week and 4 days to get through. You've got to kill 10,000 zombies in a game that doesn't have traditional waves. It doesn't have an Easter egg. It doesn't have... It does have perks, but I think they patched those in from launch. Yeah, you can get through it quickly. It's okay. Like I said, the campaign is fantastic, but the rest of it is very middle of the road. And then the final COD we've got here, World War II. World War II is my favorite Call of Duty. I know if you were beating the door down because of Bioshock, you're in the house now. You're coming for me, because this COD is amazing in my opinion. The story is very, very good. Probably could have been done a little bit better in terms of some of the characters. But I love it. The multiplayer I love. I was actually really good at this multiplayer. The zombies is really good. I met some fantastic people and made some fantastic friendships doing the multiplayer in this game. The maps are very brutal. Those Easter eggs are, a lot of sleepless nights were had. The tortured path side mode for the zombies is rough. It's essentially like a little mini wave-based hard mode kind of thing, where if you get certain outcomes, you're stuffed, you're not beating it. But overall, World War II, best Call of Duty, highly recommend that one. And I'm going to go back to my corner by myself. The next game here is Chicken Police. Chicken Police, I really, really enjoyed this one. It's like a noir detective kind of thing where everyone is animals. The trophies kind of suck. You've got to get all of the information about every character in the game, which involves talking to people in certain orders and seeing stuff in the environment. But very good game, very interesting. There was a plot twist in it I didn't see coming. The story took me for a ride, you could say, but I highly recommend that one. And now we're going to move into one of my. I just realized that the games themselves probably aren't on the screen right now. That sucks. I'll try and be mindful of that for the next few. But the next one here is City Skylines, rather. I didn't do Chicken Police twice. I promise. A pinky promise. City Skylines is next. I love this game. I actually think it runs very, very well on console, even if it has 4 million DLC that it keeps adding. They just added an airport DLC. Like, me waiting for the Chirpnado wasn't enough. The reason I don't have the 100% or the platinum in this is I'm waiting for one trophy. There is a trophy in the Disasters DLC to get essentially a tornado of birds to spawn in your city that has like a 0.03% chance of spawning or something bonkers. And I'm waiting to get that trophy. My console has spent many a night just left AFK overnight. My city has experienced thousands of tsunamis at this point, in the hope that one of those tsunamis will be a bird tornado instead. Really rough RNG. You really can't do anything to stop that and increase your chances of the tornado from spawning, but still, overall, I think it's a good game, and I would recommend it if you like your city builders and your sim cities and stuff like that. The next game here, Conan Exiles. Conan Exiles, I used the console commands. I'm going to be honest. I'm guilty, Your Honor. Where are the handcuffs? Take me. I'm guilty. I used the console commands. It was free on PS Plus. So I was like, free platinum back in the day. It since has released DLC. Gonna wait for that to be dirt cheap before I go back in and polish that off. I don't actually know anything about the DLC. I don't really know anything about the game. From memory, you had to kill some bosses, collect some stuff. It was like an even worse version of Ark Survival Evolved, which is really saying something. So let's move right along. Concrete Genie. This was actually the first game I streamed. For some context, I stream games I platinum on Twitch. Twitch.tv/symmetry. Go subscribe. I'll love you 5 ever. Concrete Genie is a really, really charming game that does like a 180 in terms of gameplay, like 2/3 of the way into the game. I really enjoyed it. I do have to do the VR trophies. I don't have a VR, so that's going to be difficult to achieve. It may even be the first unobtainable on my account, give or take. Who knows? I'm certainly not buying a VR for 3 trophies. But yeah, it's a great game. You're essentially doing a lot of painting, doing a lot of coloring in and all that sort of stuff as you lighten up a very grim world is the concept. Highly recommend Concrete Genie. It was free on PS Plus. And then we move into Control here. I have the 100% in Control. I'll be honest, not the biggest fan of Control. The story, you need like a university degree to understand what on earth is going on. They saw Black Ops 3 and were like, hold my beer. The trophies are get collectibles, kill enemies in different ways. The DLCs are interesting. I believe one of the DLCs kind of references Alan Wake pretty heavily. So if you like Alan Wake, that'll probably be up your alley. The other one goes into a mine, which cool. Good for you, A for effort. But overall, it's okay. The menus, though, I remember I played it on PS4, and I remember one thing in particular where anytime you went to a menu to see where you were on the map or something like that, the game like had a breakdown. You know, it then took 3 to 5 working days for it to then be responsive again when you actually left the menu, which not great. But yeah, it's okay. I'd recommend it. I think it's worth the play at the very least. The next 2 games here, Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3, all I have left for the platinum is I do have these 2 platinums on older accounts. That's a trend with the Souls series for me. Dark Souls 3, all I have left is farming the Silver Knights. And getting one of the endings essentially. To farm them, I then get a pyromancy or a sorcery or something that would then open them up for me to be able to get the spells for the trophy. I'm explaining this really, really well. Dark Souls 2, I do like Dark Souls 2. I have the platinum previously. It's not as bad as a lot of people say it is, realistically. It's a Souls game. But it's got like a gauntlet in the middle of the game where it's just awful area after awful area after awful area after awful area. And the first time I played this on Symmetry, I got to that gauntlet and went, I'll play something else instead. And I never went back. I will go back one day. I am sort of working on getting my completion rate back up into the high 80s, low 90s. I'm currently at about 81.5%, give or take. So that'll be one that I go back to because obviously there's a lot of completion I can get from that game. I would recommend it, but yeah, it does have a gauntlet in the middle that is kind of dumb. Like, you go from a top of a windmill into a lava volcano castle thing because that works. That makes sense. Anyway, let's move on to the Darksiders series, which is one I love. I love Darksiders 1. Darksiders 2, it's okay. I don't know why it becomes Call of Duty for a bit there, but you know, you can see that each game in the series is kind of inspired by popular series. Darksiders 1 is essentially God of War. Darksiders 2 is essentially Skyrim, and Darksiders 3 is Dark Souls. So they all have very different sort of feels to them whilst being interconnected. It's kind of interesting with the story in that they all are playing simultaneously, which is interesting. Darksiders Genesis is one I haven't had the chance to play yet. I think it's part of the new PS Plus Ultimate subscription thing that they've got introducing around the world at the moment, so I'll probably give it a try at some point here. But for now, these are the three I've done. Darksiders 1 and 3, I have the 100% for, obviously. Darksiders 2, I essentially need to do a new game plus and do the 100 wave arena, and then I have the platinum. I'll get back to it at some point. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay. And now we move on to Days Gone, which, the start of that game is so incredibly boring. It's so boring. But the rest of the game is fantastic. I wish that they had done more with the series. I know they talked about not doing a sequel, which kind of sucks because they opened it up pretty well. The DLC, which is what I have left, the DLC, it sucks. It's awful. I hate it. It's like some challenges. It's one of those games where it's like a slow, resource-heavy shooter that doesn't need a challenge mode where you're supposed to go as fast as you can and burn for resources as fast as you can, even when they don't exist. So the DLC sucks. I'll get back to it one day, but there's a reason why it's a near 30% platinum and a sub 2% 100 complete. There's a good reason for that. And next up is Death's Door. I love Death's Door. Death's Door is amazing. It's like a isometra Zelda-like with Dark Souls-y sort of combat. And by that, I mean, it's kind of punishing combat. It's fantastic. The humor in Death's Door is on point. It is very, very funny. The bosses are kind of interesting to fight. Some of the areas kind of suck to go through. That underwater temple thingy, for example, kind of blue. You have to play the entire game using an umbrella, which is like hitting an enemy with an umbrella compared to a sword. Not great. Kind of makes the game a little bit tricky, but you have magic and stuff to kind of balance that out. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend Death's Door. Definitely one of my favorite platinums I've earned this year. Next up, we have Demon Souls. This is my current stream game, so if you'd like to see me dying a lot, then pop over to Twitch. This is my current game. I'm up to Maneater in the game so far. I think the boss is called the giant stone gargoyles of suckiness. I like it, but I'm gonna be honest, it's a very pretty game. I've heard a lot of good things about Demon Souls, but I think going back to it on the PS5, it has really opened my eyes as to how not great the level design is in Demon Souls. So Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and to a way lesser extent Elden Ring, you go for a level, you open up shortcuts, there's some reward, which then makes it easier to get back to the bosses. Demon's Souls doesn't have that, or it does to a very small extent in comparison. You're doing a lot of running to get to the bosses, and that really sucks. I'm going to be honest. It's rough. Some of those, that one in the stone world and the world tendency, what on earth is that about? That's not a fan of world tendency, but yeah, Demon's Souls, it's okay, but there are better Souls-like, or Soulsborne Demon Elden Sekiros, I guess you could call them. There are better ones in that series. Detroit Become Human. Oh, there we go. Got it on the screen. I've got OBS on that monitor, so I've got to like dual this. But Detroit Become Human. I'm going to be honest, like I said with the Telltale Games, I don't like this style of game. I found this boring as hell. I can see what Old Mate is going for when he's trying to make this game be a deep and thoughtful process. But there's a reason I look like a disgruntled Stone Cold Steve Austin. I can't do big and deep, thoughtful things. So it did nothing for me, went completely over my head and was kind of just a bit of a grind. I can see why people like it. Good for you guys, high five, not for me personally. Doom 3, I love Doom 3. I love it. I hate the trophies. The trophies are, you've got multiple difficulties you've got to play through, multiple different types of collectible, kinda speed runs, different types of ways of killing the demons. But this is a game I grew up on, which probably explains why I'm like how I am now. It's a good game. I recommend it if you like slower sort of horror. It's not like the rest of the Dooms where you're plowing through demons. This one's a bit of a slower burn. I do really enjoy it, and I would recommend it. Speaking of games that I would recommend, I don't recommend Dragon Age Inquisition, which, did I not have Doom 3 up there at all? This is... Boy, am I struggling. I'm just going to stop scrolling as much. I do apologize for that. But we've got Dragon Age Inquisition here. It's like a single-player MMO, and that's not what anyone wanted from Dragon Age. You come from Dragon Age Origins, that is an amazing game, to this. The second game doesn't exist. It's okay. You're doing a lot of filler. In all honesty, there's a lot of filler quests. The main story's interesting. It's a shame that the main story is like 30% of what you'll be doing. The DLC's pretty cool. You like go down into the deep roads, which is the dwarf underground city and stuff like that, which that was interesting. I still have one of the DLCs left to do, which is essentially just a DLC of going back through the main game with certain scenarios. I'll get round to it. I've got more important things to do with my life. Dying Light is next. I said I'd stop scrolling. Put the mouse down, Symmetry. Put the mouse down. Dying Light 1. I love the Dying Light games. This is Parkour Zombie Simulator 101. It's got some rough DLCs. You can see it's got a 0.66% completion rate. The Bozak Horde took me and a mate quite a bit of time to get through. We had a thing where one of the trophies, you get to the end of it, so I think there's 20 waves from memory, and you got a time limit to get through those 20 waves. We would get to the end each time, and there's a trophy where you need to get to the end and be the last person standing, so you have to kill the other person. And we couldn't get this to pop to save our lives. By the end, we were doing what takes most people about 25 to 30 minutes. We could do it in about 17 minutes. We got that good at the Bozak Horde. But yeah, I would recommend Dying Light 1. The story's kind of uninspired, but the trophies are very fun. Get collectibles, kick zombies off roofs, kill them with different types of weapons. Dying Light 2 essentially just builds on that. It's got a more interesting story. The world is a lot more vertical, which is kind of awesome. You've got a lot of parkour to navigate very tall buildings. I'd recommend Dying Light 2. It does have some glitchy trophies. The reason I don't have the 100%ing Dying Light 2 is a trophy where you had to essentially liberate windmills. Didn't pop for me, and I kind of lost interest, as you can see. I'm just waiting for them to patch that before I return to that game and just do some polish up. Elden Ring is next. I adore Elden Ring. I think it's my second favorite of the Souls games, Bloodborne being my first. The trophies are very, very simple in this. You can see it's nearly a 40% platinum, and I think I've seen dudes get the 100% in that in like sub 10 hours, I think is a time that people are starting to hit, which is kind of incredible. I played it on launch. I streamed it a tiny bit. Its trophy list is very simple. Kill all the bosses, get all the unique weapons. There's one missable unique weapon in the game from memory, so you pick it up and then you're good to go through the rest of the game. Highly recommend Elden Ring. Absolutely fantastic game that lived up to its hype. And now we get into another guilty pleasure of mine. Fall Guys. As you can see, I like Fall Guys. I did do the trophy for the wins in a row with the glitch to get the trophy, which I do kind of regret because I've since done it twice legit, which I can't really brag about because I did the trophy the glitch way. But the game is very fun. I have auto-popped it twice, once deliberately because the original servers are no longer playable on. The other one was by accident. I didn't realize I'd downloaded the wrong version because I'm an idiot. But overall, it's a fantastic game. I really love this one. If you like shows like Wipeout, or I think the other one is Takashi's Castle from memory, this will be right up your alley, and it is an absolute laugh with mates. Never forget getting Dibble from Missing Collectibles Platinum Trophy by headbutting his ass over the finish line so he could get the win trophies. Absolute legendary game. I love it. Next up, we have the Fallout games. Or two of the Fallout games, I guess. Fallout 4. I don't like Fallout 4. It's open world, bland RPG, a lot of side quests. It's got a settlement system that absolutely blows. You've got to make your settlers happy. You've got to get a happiness of 100, I think, which essentially just involves giving them a metric ton of alcohol, which, to be fair, that'd make me happy as well. But the trophies are very uninspired. There's a million DLCs. There's some grindy stuff in there. The main story kind of sucks. Overall, I wouldn't recommend Fallout 4. Fallout 76, on the other hand, this game was a buggy mess at launch. I believe it's been fixed these days. I played it not very long after launch, but I'll be honest, I liked it. I thought this was a better game than Fallout 4. I would even say it's not as good as Fallout 3 or New Vegas. There is a bit of a gap, but it is better than 4. The world is probably the most interesting of all of the Fallouts. It's kind of got some variety. You got some swamp, you got some desert. You got a lot of coal mines. It's like really interesting to go through. The trophies are brutal. There's a get to level 100 trophy. Naturally, it didn't pop for me, so I had to get to level 100 twice. It's got DLC since that I think added NPCs and stuff, which was kind of my only massive complaint. Was all of the side quests and stuff in the base game were by robots, and so there wasn't really any interest in the characters. That might be different with NPCs. I definitely look forward to going back and doing the DLC at some point. But yeah, overall, I recommend Fallout 76. It's not as bad as people are saying. I pinky promise. And now we get into my next Ubisoft guilty pleasure series, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. I like this game. It's got a good look. It's got a lot of good references. It's 80s action. Michael Biehn is the main character, so what is not to love? The gameplay kind of clunky. Essentially, it feels like a 10-year-old game. But it's fun. It's nice and short. You can probably do it in about 6 hours if you're really trying. I did it in a lot longer of a period of time, obviously. Far Cry 3, however, I love that game. It's kind of overrated, in my opinion, in terms of the Far Cries, but it's very fun. They all have a very similar list to one another. Do all of the things, get all of the collectibles. This one's just on some tropical islands. Far Cry 4. In my opinion, this is the best Far Cry. I know I have really bad taste in games, but I like this one. It's set in essentially Nepal, fake Nepal. The villain is kind of interesting. You don't seem enough. An Ubisoft specialty really is to underutilize their villains. This is a classic example of that. But yeah, I really recommend Far Cry 4. It does have multiplayer trophies like Team Deathmatch and that sort of stuff. I, in 2020, was able just to get in and not even need to boost them. I kind of just showed up to some multiplayer sessions that were very active. I don't know if that's the case now, but yeah, I'd recommend Far Cry 4. Far Cry 5. I don't recommend Far Cry 5. I don't like Far Cry 5 very much. I find the story very dull. I find the villain kind of very dull. The gameplay is nice, but it's a Far Cry game. You know, you kind of sort of, if it's going to be 20 or 30 hours, you want it to at least be interesting on top of fun gameplay, and it's not. The Zombies DLC was kind of actually pretty fun. It's probably my favorite part of the game, but it doesn't do enough to really justify the time investment into things like the arcade trophies and the single player. Far Cry 6. I haven't finished Far Cry 6. I like Far Cry 6. The campaign is very fun. That was another game we did on Twitch. Never forget being electrocuted for 20 minutes in a puddle. I make great choices, I pinky promise. This is a fun one. The story's actually pretty interesting, but the DLC sucks. They saw that roguelikes were popular at the moment, so they made Far Cry roguelikes, 3 of them, because 1 wasn't enough. Each one based around a villain from previously in the series. So you've got Vars, you've got Pagan Min, and you've got Bland Jesus from Far Cry 5. And I've done the Vars one from Far Cry 3, and I've done a good chunk of the Far Cry 4 roguelike DLC in it. But they just suck. They're not that difficult really, but it's kind of like you got to build your character for 20 minutes for them not to be difficult. And then if you die, you've got to redo that. And that's just not fun in my opinion. So I'll go back to them at some point. But for now, not really interested in returning to that game. Far Cry Primal and New Dawn. I'm just going to wombo combo those two together. I don't like either of these games. I think they're both crap. Primal, I've done the platinum a few times for reasons I don't quite understand. New Dawn I've only done once and will only do once. Not good games. Primal's got an interesting concept. You're a caveman on a carbon copy of the Far Cry 4 map. But yeah, don't play either of these. They don't really bring anything to the series. Speaking of games I don't recommend, Final Fantasy VII Remake. I like the original Final Fantasy, and I wish this one had an option to do turn-based. I don't like the remake very much. I think they went, okay, let's split a good game into portions and make each of those portions extremely bloated, and I think this is a good example. That boss fight where you're like driving the motorbike down a tunnel for like 10 minutes, I'm pretty sure if you go back in multiple playthroughs, the game knows it's bloated. So it's just like, yo, do you just want to skip this? And if a game is giving you that option, which don't quote me, I might be wrong, but if a game is giving you the option to skip its own content, it's probably an issue. So I don't really like Final Fantasy Remake. I've gone back several times. I've been disappointed several times. I'll get the platinum at some point, but it is not anytime soon. Ghosts of Tsushima is up next. I love Ghost of Tsushima. It's another Ubisoft game. Well, it's not made by Ubisoft, but it's that sort of thing. I don't really understand people that don't like Assassin's Creed, but like this, given how similar they are. I guess the combat's a little bit different, but they're open world collectathons. It's got a really cool DLC, like raid mode. I haven't beaten the raid mode. I've done some of it, but not massively much because I have no friends and now I'm sad. I need to do the expansion DLC at some point. I've heard it's very good. I heard there's a lot of monkeys, so I'll get to that at some point. Just again, it's one of those ones where it's very heavily on my back burner. Ghost Runner is next. I adore Ghost Runner. This is an amazing game. The whole thing is just great. It's fast-paced action. You can kill most enemies in one shot. They can kill you in one shot. You've got to get good to beat the game, essentially. Very fast-paced. The trophies are just killing enemies in different ways and getting collectibles, but they're collectibles where they're usually on the map. There's not that many of them in a level. I would say the hardest trophy in the game is to beat the first level without dying. That definitely took me quite a few attempts, 124 to be precise. I still think of that number every time I shut my eyes. But overall, amazing game. Highly recommend Ghost Runner. It is a banger. Next up, we have the God of Wars that are on PS4. I love God of War Remake. Amazing game. Amazing story. Very much looking forward to Ragnarok. But I think God of War 3 is the best God of War game. It's the traditional format, which I do prefer, if I'm honest. The hack and slash beat 'em up, smashing dudes, kind of fun. You can beat it very quickly because there is an exploit for the hardest difficulty where you beat the game normally, you go back in New Game Plus, and then you just kind of break a chain and go to the final boss in the first 5 minutes of the game. But very fun game. Highly recommend both of these. I think 3 was free on PS Plus, right? So jump into that one. Highly recommend it. Gone Home is next. Another PS Plus goodie. Little indie game. You got to solve where your folks are in a house from memory. It doesn't take very long. Obviously, I got it in 43 minutes. It's essentially just finding notes in a house, and then I think speedrunning finding those notes. So it's small, it's charming, it's interesting. Highly recommend that one. I'm gonna do a dreaded scroll now. So watch me promptly put the game above the above my capture screen there. But GTA 3 is next. I thought this was miserable to do. I thought this was miserable to go back to. I loved this game as a kid, but boy, has it not aged well. Shooting in that game, driving in that game, it's all rough. Spending 3 days looking for an ice cream truck because I didn't think about just getting the cars during the mission. I definitely recommend that. If you're doing collecting the cars, just grab the cars whilst they're in missions, take them to a garage, fail the mission, redo the mission. It's going to save you a hell of a lot of time compared to sitting in an airport and praying. San Andreas is kind of the same thing. I did a stream of that game, hence why it's on my list. I'm thinking of going back and cleaning it up fairly soon, in all honesty. I love San Andreas as a kid. It's still very clunky in this. The mission where you've got to go into the army base to steal some crates is rough. But I'll get back to it, and I'll probably do Vice City at some point in the near future. Greedfall is next. Greedfall, it sucks. Don't play that game. I don't recommend it. Very boring RPG. Very similar to Dragon Age Inquisition, in all honesty, because that's a great game to base your inspiration on. I was interested in this game. I had a lot of interest. I liked the idea of the 18th century kind of setting, because we don't really get much of that in games. So I was definitely hyped for that. You'll actually see a few games on my list. I really like that sort of era. Assassin's Creed Unity, for example. But I had trophies not popping for me. I had all sorts of miserable stuff. The fact that the big ending trophy that takes 30 hours to do all of the really monotonous crap to get that set up just didn't pop for me. That was rough. I have a couple more endings to do, and I believe there's a DLC since. I'll get back to it at some point, but I can't recommend it. And I'm gonna follow that with another game that I just don't like. Hades. Everyone loves Hades. I'm very alone on my island of... I can see why everyone likes it. I definitely think it's well made. I definitely like the art style and the weapon variety, but I'm not very good at it. I apparently don't have depth perception, which makes it frustrating. I didn't try the God mode exploit thing. I like to sort of try and do a game legit as much as I can. I will take an exploit here or there. I am very guilty of that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But Hades was one that I did on stream, and I tried to do legit. I'll go back to it at some point. Maybe my opinion will change, but for now, I'm not as big a fan of it as everyone else on Earth is. Maybe when I go back and play a bit more of it, that'll change. I think it's a very good game. It's just not for me personally. A game that is for me personally is Hitman 3. I adore the Hitman games. Dressing up as Agent 47 on stream was an incredibly fun experience. There's a lot of clips of that on my channel if you did want to check out what a bald man with a barcode on his head does look like. These games are amazing. The whole trilogy is really, really good. Hitman 3, the whole upgrade path is really, really confusing, but Hitman 3 essentially has 1 and 2 and their DLCs in it. So if you do Hitman 3, you've got the whole package. I do still have a couple trophies left. They are the DLC maps. I plan on doing those on stream. I like to sort of do Hitmans as like special streams because I can dress up for them and have a lot of bits. But yeah, I highly recommend these. I think Hitman 3 I did as a milestone. I did that as my 125th platinum from memory. So that was fun. We're now moving into my second most disappointing game of the year, Horizon Forbidden West. They took everything that was good about Zero Dawn and made it worse. Aloy as a character is incredibly unlikable in this game. She spends far too much of the campaign running away from characters that are like, yo, I just want to help you. You know, you are the savior of the human race. Can you stop going off and getting yourself hurt by yourself? The gameplay is fun, but the story was such a grind. And I've just noticed, oh boy, this is a live realization that it now has DLC. Hold on, I'm now gonna go see what the DLC is, because, oh no, it's New Game Plus. It's New Game Plus. Oh, and it's New Game Plus on Ultra Hard, because that'll be fun. Yay! Oh, God, why do I trophy hunt? Yeah, I don't like Forbidden West. It's my second most disappointing game of the year. We're going to get to the most disappointing game very shortly. But let's move on to Zero Dawn here. I like Zero Dawn. I thought Zero Dawn was good. I liked the DLC. The snowy area was kind of really interesting. It brought in some really interesting concepts. The story made sense. Yeah, I recommend Zero Dawn. I don't recommend Forbidden West. Immortals Phoenix Rising. I said it before with Odyssey. I think this is a fun game, but I think it outstayed its welcome for me. There's a lot of puzzles. None of them are particularly hard or fun. They're kind of just time sinks, moving balls around for no real reason. I still have one of the DLCs left to do. I'll get round to it at some point very soon. The DLC I've got left is a top-down isometric, which, if you were listening on the Hades one, I'm not good at them, so this is one that I kind of struggle with a little bit. The game itself has some charm. I really like the narration between two of the gods. That's kind of really, really good, but the rest of the game is kind of middle of the road, so play it if you like open world collectathons. The two Infamous games, Infamous First Light and Second Son. As you can see, I really like Second Son. I still think Infamous 2 is probably my favorite of the series, but Second Son's okay. First Light, however, I wasn't a fan of. I don't like, you'll see it in games where I haven't completed some DLCs. I don't like arena, like challenge modes and stuff very much. I kind of just find them a bit of a waste of my time. This was one of those ones where, it's a 12-hour platinum that took me a year and 4 months because I just wasn't interested. So, Jazzpunk, on the other hand, I adore Jazzpunk. Such a fun, quirky little indie game. It's a bit of an easy peasy, but it's got a lot of charm. It's got a lot of randomness. I was laughing my ass off at multiple points in this game. Highly, highly recommend this one. And now we get into Jurassic World Evolution 2, because that name isn't long enough. I like Jurassic World Evolution 2, I really do. The reason I stopped playing it, I will go back to it very soon, probably just as an on and off kind of City Skylines-like game. The reason I stopped playing it was it actually hit a point where it was shutting my PlayStation completely off, like overheating it. Before it got to the main screen, like some of the... I don't know what it is about that game specifically, but it killed my PS4 Pro to the point where that thing is now just a Netflix machine because it can't play games because Jurassic World killed it. So if you're on PS4, maybe don't do Jurassic World Evolution 2. On PS5, it seems good so far. I've played it a tiny bit, but it's a fun game. It's a zoo tycoon with dinosaurs. One of your things monthly is how much money you had to spend on lawyers to cover up dinosaurs eating people. So that's a fun concept. Next up, we have Kena Bridge of Spirits, or Kena Bruce Bridge of Spirits. Yeah, it's okay. It's like a Pixar's open world. Is how I would say it. It's like a Pixar movie meets a Zelda open world Darksiders kind of thing. It's got collectibles. It's got Dark Souls-y kind of combat. Like the bosses are kind of actually hard on the hardest difficulty. The reason I stopped playing it was this is another one where I had the collectibles glitch. You've got to open chests for hats, I believe it is. One of the chests just isn't, I can't open it. I don't get a prompt. So I kind of lost interest and put the game down. I'll go back to it at some point, but the idea of an entire new playthrough for one chest kind of blows, in all honesty. Killzone Shadowfall. I love this game. I wish they did more Killzones. I know there's the 3 on PlayStation 3, obviously. But I wish they'd done more with this series. I wish this one was more boots on the ground military than it is the stealthy sort of route that they went. But it's a fun one. The multiplayer is not that bad. It's like a week of versing bots. I think one of the trophies needs another person. You've got DLC that needs 4 people, however. I haven't done that DLC yet, hence why I don't have the completion. But it's a fun game. I would recommend it. It's a nice ultra rare. It's not a difficult ultra rare, so that's a plus. That's going in my basket. Next up is LA Noire, made by Australians, so I'm biased and love it. This game is amazing. It's set in LA in the 50s. It's like the post-war late 40s through the 50s. It spans over a number of years. You play as a detective solving crimes. They use like face reading technology that has aged really hilariously. So you sort of look at how a person is reacting to your questions to determine whether they're innocent or not innocent. So that's hilarious. There's a lot of laughs you can sort of get out of that, which is very entertaining. Highly recommend that one. The trophies kind of suck. There's a trophy where you've got to collect all of the different types of car. And some of those cars spawn very, very, very rarely. The spawn rates are very low, which... oh, that took some time. That took some time to get, unfortunately. But overall, I really recommend that game. Layers of Fear 1 and 2 is next. I don't like Layers of Fear. I do like Layers of Fear 2, hence why one I've finished and one I haven't. They're walking simulator horrors. They're kind of based on sort of like graphical horror. You'll see lights flicker and walls melt and me shirtless. That sort of horror. But the kind of thing where once you've seen it for an hour, you've seen it. That's all the thing offers. It's not offering anything more. I play them if you like horror. If you don't like horror, they're kind of boring. The Lego games. What on earth is my Lego collection here? I've done superheroes, Marvel superheroes. It's okay. It's a Lego game. Star Wars The Force Awakens. It's okay. It's a Star Wars Lego game. Think superheroes. Chuck a different set of paint on it. Put it in space. There you go. Lego Star Wars Saga. This game sucks. I'm just going to say it. This is my most disappointing game of the year. I'm like 3 hours away from the platinum. I just can't be bothered. The actual game, the actual campaign, the 9 movies is about 15% of the trophy list. Like, it's just big, boring hub worlds. The missions themselves take maybe 5 minutes for most of them. Yeah, I hate this game in all honesty. Hate's a strong word, but oh, what a disappointment. What a absolute disappointment this game is. And it's nice to see people starting to say similar, because I felt very alone on that island. Lego Worlds is up next. I did this for a trophy competition on PSMP last year. This one's rough. It's like Minecraft, but Lego is probably the easiest way to say it. I haven't done the 2 DLCs, although I've heard they're both incredibly short, but there is one trophy in this to get 1 billion studs. Now, if you're a Lego aficionado, 1 billion studs is not much. You get multipliers and all that sort of stuff, which, you know, what used to be 5 studs might now be 335 studs or something. Lego Worlds doesn't have that. It's 1 billion studs without the multipliers. You essentially dig a hole and then drop some safes in it for 10 hours straight and pray the game doesn't crash. It was rough. I did a lot of, I would stream the main game that I was playing, and then I would move to just chatting and just kind of do this while I chatted. It was boring. It was dull. I don't really recommend Lego Worlds either. And I swear I do like the Lego games. I plan on doing Harry Potter and stuff in the future, and they're very enjoyable games. Moving on to Life is Strange series. Hold on, there we go. I got it. I'm working it out. We're halfway through my list, but I'm working out the how to scroll. I'm an IT. I've got a degree in IT, but I can't work out a scroll bar. Next up is Life is Strange. These are okay games. I find Life is Strange 1 and Before the Storm kind of a little bit too Telltale-y for my liking. They're okay, but you're just doing button prompts for a story. True Colors, on the other hand, I loved. I didn't like the Dungeons and Dragons chapter in it. That sort of dragged on very, very long. But this, I like True Colors. That was definitely one I went into this year not expecting to enjoy, and actually came out of it kind of sad it was over. Enjoyable story, interesting characters. I really liked the atmosphere of the small sort of rural mining town. Yeah, highly recommend True Colors. The other two are very good as well. Your trophies are just collecting stuff in the chapters, taking photos of stuff in the chapters, and finishing the chapters. So very, very simple. Little Nightmares 1 and 2, I adore these games. I did these both on stream. Their trophy lists are very interesting. Little Nightmares 1 has an awful trophy list. You've got to beat the game without dying in a certain number of hours. Think Limbo is a really good example as to what that is like. These are sort of like horror games to an extent. They're definitely creepy. They definitely have creepy scenarios and stuff. They've got some platforming, some puzzle solving. They are, yeah, I'd recommend these games. These were recommended to me when I sort of got into streaming, and I really enjoyed these, and met some pretty awesome people through these. Lords of the Fallen is next. Lords of the Fallen is actually my longest game without completion on my account because it sucks. I don't enjoy Lords of the Fallen. Think Dark Souls. It's like if Dark Souls is Lego, Lords of the Fallen is Roblox. It's kind of like, hey, we've got a similar thing. It's just bigger and bulkier and not as fun. I think I'm literally up to the final boss. I just can't be bothered to actually beat him to then go into New Game Plus, because you've got to do 3 playthroughs. The DLC has enemies where like they can only be hurt by ghost weapons, and they're the only enemy in the game where ghost weapons are viable or something. So you got to switch out your weapon every single time you see one of those, and the menus are clunky. Don't play this one. If you want a game from these devs that's pretty good, do the Surge 2. I've heard it's fairly good. I haven't played it myself just yet. I do own the Surge series. I'll get round to them at some point. Next up we have, hold on, let me work out the old scroll. Let me, whoop. There we go. We got it. Mafia series. I love the Mafia games. Mafia 1 and 2. I didn't know Mafia 3 was unobtainable. What have we got here? 12 unobtainable trophies. There's no multiplayer. Is it glitched, I'm guessing? They were buggy. I remember there being buggy trophies, but I don't remember there being necessarily glitch trophies when I did it. These are great games. They're essentially GTA clones, except you're a Italian mafia man is probably the best description that I've got for it. Fantastic games. I really, really enjoy each of these. Mafia 2, I don't have the 100% because I've got the Jimmy's Vendetta falling a car for 12 hours through space to do. You've got to rack up, I think it is 1,000 miles. I don't know what that is in kilometers. And the way to do that is you jump through a shop window and then plummet to your death for a very, very long time, 12 hours or so. And then pray the game doesn't crash when you go to save to rack up those miles. I'm like 2/3 of the way through it. I do it on and off occasionally. It'll get done eventually. I'm lazy. It'll get done eventually. Maneater. This is, oh, hold on. There he is. I've worked it out. I've cracked the code. Maneater's an interesting one. I did the DLC on PS5. It was one of the first games I did. And the haptic feedback, so the triggers when you got my controller up here, the triggers when you're playing it, they vibrate the entire time because you're munching on stuff. And I have a few like broken fingers and stuff like that. And the spots in my fingers that I had broken doing sports and stuff over the years, by the time I was done Maneater and the vibration, they were all aching. Like it was a weird experience to like finish a game and go, I'm actually in pain right now. It's okay. It's an open world game where you play as essentially just Jaws and you eat a bunch of people to the end. That's it. You got that and you got collectibles, you know, wombo combo of an open world. I'd recommend it. It was fun. Next up, we've got Marvel's Spider-Man. Marvel Spider-Man is a pretty fun game. Open world Spider-Man. Story's really, really good. I'm not a superhero guy by any means, but I enjoyed this. I've heard Miles Morales is actually really good as well. I plan on streaming that probably fairly soon. The DLC though I thought was awful. I thought the DLCs were kind of very, very boring and just sort of filler. But overall, I would recommend Marvel Spider-Man. We've got the Metro series next. This is another series that I really, really love. I probably like First Light the best. No, sorry, I like 2033 is the first game, and I think it's the best. They've got like a claustrophobic, eerie sort of horror sort of first-person setting that was kind of lacking in Metro Exodus. Metro Exodus's first DLC is that setting, and I thought it was a highlight of that game. I still need to do the second DLC, Sam's story. It came out when I was already done the game, so I was sort of just, I'll do it eventually. I own it. I'll get back to it at some point. But that's a series I highly recommend. The trophies are very, very straightforward. You've got to beat the game twice from memory. I think you've got to do all 3 of them 2 times. You've got to get some collectibles. You got to kill some dudes in specific ways. You got to stealth some areas. Some of them, Metro Exodus, for example, has a trophy where you've got to do about a 2-hour mission without killing any of the like local people to the area, which is kind of interesting in that you have to distinguish who is and who is not from the area to be able to get that trophy. So that was kind of an interesting take. Next, we'll move into the Middle-earth games. I don't like these games very much. I'm a big Tolkien fan. Believe it or not, I can read books. And I really like the Silmarillion, Nanahinhiran, The Lord of the Rings. I do enjoy all of those books. So Shadow of War particularly was very hard to digest just because it just kind of takes Tolkien's work and uses it as toilet paper. The gameplay itself is very, very fun. I really only have for Shadow of War, I have one base game trophy, which is the level 25 gem and the DLC to go in that. I think I did a tiny bit of the DLC, but I stopped because it was kind of boring. Shadow of War, I have one of the DLCs left and quite a bit of base game stuff. I have that bit where right at the end, they had the pay to win, like, siege thing, and I just couldn't be bothered to do 30 hours of a siege thing. No, not interested. I'll get back to them both at some point, but not my kind of games. Minecraft is next. It's the gift that keeps on giving. I'm honestly surprised we haven't had more trophies in set 2 there, because it's been, 6 months since the last one? That's kind of crazy. Minecraft is fun. I actually learnt quite a bit of coding for my degree using the PC version of Minecraft and its server and plugin sort of stuff. I learned quite a bit with my degree with all that, so that was fun. I didn't really play the PS4 version too much. I kind of just got the trophies and got out. But I'd recommend Minecraft. It's a fun one. It plays weird on PC, on console from memory. You've got to like press the thumbstick in to move and stuff like that, which is a bit strange. The Monster Hunter World games are next. I did these on stream. I'll go back and get the platinums at some point. They are very grindy, but they are very fun. The gameplay of these is amazing. You're essentially hunting big, massive monsters using different weapons to take them down. You know, and a giant dragon might be weak to piercing weapons, whilst a slug might be weak to a giant hammer, for example. So there's a lot of variety. The trophies kind of suck. There's one that's very RNG based where you've got to get gold crowns for each monster. There's 2 gold crowns, one for the smallest and one for the biggest monster. Most of those crowns, I'd say like 80% of the crowns are RNG based. You're kind of just going into the world and hoping the monster there is the biggest. And it takes usually about 15 minutes to kill a monster. So, you know, that's a long time to commit to not know if you're going to get something. I'll get back to them eventually. They're just very, very large time sinks. Mortal Shell is next, and Mortal Shell hurts my soul. I was so close to getting the platinum when my save file corrupted on me. If you were to go into my list, you would see that I've done pretty much everything in the base game except for the no shell playthrough, which was what I was working on when my save corrupted. And I don't like that game enough to do another playthrough so soon. It's a clunky Dark Souls. It's got a really cool mechanic where you're like hardening yourself into a statue to avoid hits. That's a really cool concept. I did like that. But like 90% of the game is in a bloody swamp. I don't like those in the Dark Souls game. So I don't know why someone thought that was a good idea. I've heard the DLC is pretty good. I don't own the DLC. I'll get to it at some point. Maybe, fingers crossed. Next up here, we have Murdered Soul Suspect. Very early in on the Symmetry career. I don't really remember this game at all, if I'm honest. I sort of just did it because I owned it and it was it free on PS Plus? I'm not entirely sure. It was okay. I don't really have anything to say about this one, to be perfectly honest with you. It kind of just exists. You're a dead detective trying to solve a crime in the real world or something. I don't even think there was any enemies in the game. I think you're just literally going to point, solving the crime using clues. I think that's all the trophies were as well. Now we move on to the greatest game of all time. My name is Mayo. I very much look forward to finishing the trilogy. This is the flagship of my profile. I am very proud of this platinum. I tapped that jar. I have thumbs of steel. From tapping that jar. Highly recommend My Name is Mayo. It's an easy peasy. Everyone knows it. Everyone loves it. And now we move into some more niche stuff. Outer Wilds. Outer Wilds is a honestly amazing game. I was recommended this by the fellas at Missing Collectible. Shameless plug. Do you go and subscribe to them, of course. They make wonderful content. This is a game where you have 22 minutes to go to different planets and try and solve what happened in the universe. Amazing game. I hate the ship mechanics. I hate the ship's controls really, really badly, hence why I don't have the platinum or the 100%. But I would absolutely recommend this game. This is definitely one of the best games I've played this year. Definitely a platinum I will get this year. I just need a bit of time because the controls for that ship suck. Next up is Outlast 1 and 2. I did both of these on stream. Outlast 1 is an amazing game. Outlast 2 is a game. The trophies kind of suck for both of these. You've got a lot of getting through the game on hard difficulties without dying, getting through it without recharging your camera's batteries. For clarification, the battery on the camera is how you see in the game because everything is pitch black. There's a lot of jump scares. They're both very, very creepy games. I'd recommend Outlast 2 to anyone, Outlast 1 to anyone. Outlast 2, don't play Outlast 2. Ratchet and Clank is up next. I need to play the PS5 version or the PS5 sequel, but this is a fun game. It's a remake of the original without being a remake of the original. They took away some of the areas and stuff, but it's fun. It's easy. I'd recommend it. Red Dead 2. I love Red Dead 2. I love that game. The multiplayer wasn't that bad. The story is incredible. The trophies suck. You've got a lot of collecting all of the different types of collectibles. You got a lot of hunting animals. I spent 12 hours looking for a moose. I remember I didn't have uni that day, so I was like, yeah, stuff it. I'll just sit down and get the platinum in Red Dead. And I'm still sad about that moose just sitting at a waterfall. Like, he'll come, he'll be here. He said he'll be here. He promised. The game is great. Stuff the blackjack trophies as well. They sucked, but overall, I highly recommend that platinum. I don't think it took me 200 hours. I know the guide there is saying 200 hours. For those of you that are curious how I do have those little stats on games, PSMP Plus is a plugin you can get from PSMP that gives you additional data. So you can see there the Outer Wilds has one gaming session available, which that's a single player game. So okay, don't know how that has a sesh. Red Dead has a sesh too, for example. There, people are doing multiplayer and trying to like set up boosts. Very easy way of kind of looking at all that sort of data. Highly recommend that as well. Remnant from the Ashes is next. I really recommend Remnant from the Ashes. It's a Dark Souls but with guns. It's a very fun one. I did this on stream. I do have both the DLCs. I need to go back and get the platinum. I really only have getting the armor sets left for the platinum. The DLCs are also more of the same. One of them is like a arena-based swamp thing. I'll do it with mates at some point, I assume. But yeah, highly recommend Remnant. The trophies are simple. Get all the armor sets, get all the traits, which are like character stat boosts, I guess you would call them. But the bosses are very fun, and they made Dark Souls with guns work, so that's a plus. Next up, we get into the Resident Evil series on my account. Resident Evil 2, I've done the base game. I love Resident Evil 2's remake. I love the originals. I played Resident Evil 2 and 3 way back in the day as well, so it was nice to see that announced. I've seen Resident Evil 4's remake is on the way as well, so that's very exciting. I can't wait for that. I didn't do the DLC because the DLC sucks. I'll get around to it at some point. It's another one of those ones where if I don't think it's worth my time, I just don't do it immediately. I'll get back to it. Like I said, my backlog's 230 something games. There's better things to do. Resident Evil 3, kind of disappointing. They cut a lot of areas that were great in the original Resident Evil 3, but the game is fun. You can beat the speedrun in like under an hour. Resident Evil 5, I like the game, but it kind of blows. The hard difficulty with an AI dying all the time was rough. I still need to do the multiplayer DLC. I'll get around to it at some point. Probably self-boost it, let's be real. Hashtag no friends, hashtag trophy hunter. But yeah, it's a fun game. Resident Evil 7, I did on stream. I beat the game on stream. I did some DLC. I will go back and get the 100% at some point. Stream games are like, I usually just do a first playthrough and then I clean the game up in my own time. This is a perfect case of that. Resident Evil Village is another perfect case of that. It'll get cleaned up. I love Resident Evil 7. It's probably one of my favorites in the series. And then we get to my least favorite game I've ever trophy hunted, Resident Evil Resistance. This game was miserable. It definitely strained friendships. If the power of friendship is a thing, this game was a force to be reckoned with. This game was a miserable to boost. You've got a lot of... You have to have a group you know very well. You have to go into it knowing what you're doing, and you have to go into it expecting half the group to break what they were doing and do their own thing. It's got a really dumb mechanic where you can only fight the same killer, because it's like a Dead by Daylight clone. You can only fight the same killer once per hour. So... like, it sucks. This game is not fun. Probably my least enjoyable experience trophy hunting. Highly don't recommend Resident Evil Resistance. Run as far away as you can from it. Get a big stick and make sure it's between you and the game. Next up, we have Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil Village is one that I really, really enjoy. Mercenaries mode is nowhere near as bad as a lot of people say. I got a lot of S ranks kind of first or second time kind of thing, and I'm not good at games. My list probably shows that. It's fun, it's interesting, it's a follow-up to Resident Evil 7. You're in a snowy village sorting out werewolves, showing them who's boss. Very fun game, highly recommend. It looks beautiful. And then we get into probably my favorite game I played this year, Return of the Obra Dinn. This is a whodunit, essentially. You play an insurance agent who shows up at a ghost ship. An empty ship has sailed into the harbor, and you have to use the skeletons of certain crew members to work out who all 64 members of the crew were and how they died. It's an amazing game. I could talk about Return of the Obra Dinn all day. Fantastic. Some of the ways you work out who people were are kind of like crazy. Like insane. The game goes from 0 to 100 very quickly. Absolutely adore Return of the Obra Dinn. It definitely gets the Simi seal of approval, which is a thing I've just made up and I'm introducing now. So go Team Woo. Highly recommend Return of the Obra Dinn. Play that game. Do it. I'm watching you. I will be testing you. It'll be on the Symmetry quiz later. Play it. The next game here is Rime, which, funny enough, was my first platinum trophy on Symmetry, which is a fitting platinum trophy because I believe it's called "The End Is a New Beginning" or something like that. So that was a really fun starting point. It's like a little platformer kind of thing. It's very charming. It's very short. It's very easy. I did it in a day. I think you could probably do it in like 6 hours, really. Yeah, Rime was good. It was free on PS Plus, I believe. Rise of the Tomb Raider is next. I don't like Rise of the Tomb Raider. I don't like the Tomb Raider reboots very much, if I'm honest. They kind of just feel like budget Uncharted's, really. Lara's a good character in the first of them, but she sort of becomes very bland and almost unlikable by Shadow's time. All I have left in Rise of the Tomb Raider is... the challenge mode, because I don't like challenge modes. You've got to run through each level in a certain amount of time getting points. Yeah, I didn't think the game was polished enough for that to really work. It's like a Days Gone kind of case. It just doesn't work very well, and this is a perfect example of that. So I'll finish it one day. I have the multiplayer done, so if they shut the servers, I should be fine. But one day I'll get it done. The Saints Row are next. I have the special Australian version of Re-Elected because we don't like things over here. Very fun games. Get Out of Hell is definitely a low point. You can see why the series went into sort of a hibernation for a decade. But 3 and Re-Elected are very, very fun games. Open world GTA clones that are probably a bit more wacky. I really wish that they would remaster Saints Row 2 so I could get trophies in that, because that game is legitimately god tier good. But yeah, this series is an amazing series. Highly recommend these games, except Get Out of Hell. Don't play that one. Next up we have Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Another game I can't really recommend. It doesn't even have enemies in it. It's got like, you've got combat trophies, right? You've got probably a fair few, probably like 12 combat trophies, but 4 encounters with enemies in the entire game. The rest of it is just climbing through tombs, which is fun the first time. You do it multiple times. Yeah, I can't recommend this one. Lyra's a really unlikable character in this one. She sort of, if she just just didn't do the things she kind of deliberately gets a lot of people in trouble. Yeah, not a great game. If you're going to play a Tomb Raider, just do the ones on PS2 or the first of the reboots. Those are good games. Rise and Shadow, not so much. Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter. It's interesting. It's a unique game. You play as Sherlock, go figure, solving some crimes. There's a lot of going from point A to point B and investigating objects. It's nothing special. It's borderline a Telltale game, but it's fun. I enjoyed that one. Sleeping Dogs is next. Sleeping Dogs is amazing. It's devastating we never really got a series out of Sleeping Dogs. It's a GTA clone, but a really well done one. You do a lot of martial arts instead of gun combat, which is a really unique spin on it. You play as an undercover cop, so you've got a whole there's a lot of trophies based to a police and a gangster sort of system where you can't drive and collide into people and stuff like that because that affects your cop ranking, and different kills and combat stuff affects your gangster rating. So there's a whole lot of a balancing act there. It's very, very fun. The DLC sucks. The DLC is very, very rough, but it's easy to get through. It's modern DLC, half baked, half executed. It's okay. Sniper Elites is next. I love this series, even though I don't have the platinums in most of them. I'm working on 4 on and off currently with a mate. Sniper Elite 3, all I really have left is the co-op stuff. Getting some endings with another person, that sort of stuff there, and the multiplayer. I'll get round to that at some point. Sniper Elite 4, we're working through the DLCs at the moment. They're kind of like mini campaigns. Each DLC has various different ways of killing a certain German leader. That's always pretty fun. The campaigns are usually fairly bare bones, but the gameplay in these games is actually really, really good. I really enjoy these. Highly recommend them. Sniper Elite 2, same deal. Less open world. The other 2 games are quite open world. That one is more linear. You're sort of in Berlin during the final hours kind of thing. Highly recommend. Berlin. That's the one. I know my geography. Highly recommend all of these games. I've heard Sniper Elite 5 is very fun. I'll probably do it on stream soon. Who knows? Next up, we've got Soma. Soma is a horror game that I don't remember much of, if I'm honest. It was interesting. You're under the sea trying to work out what happened to the human race. You kind of get put into sleep after an accident or something and wake up. It's okay. I don't really remember much about it, if I'm honest, but yeah, play it. It's a good horror. I think there's settings where you can turn off the enemies. Don't do that. Play it normally. It's a blast. The South Park games, amazing. I love these games. I love South Park. Poo-poo fart jokes, I find them amazing. So these are great games. Fighting Morgan Freeman is definitely a highlight of my trophy hunting career. You've got a lot of catching knockoff Pokemon, getting Facebook friends, all that sort of stuff in this game. They're kind of like turn-based RPGs, which is honestly something we don't see much of these days. Like I said in the Final Fantasy VII remake part of this very long-winded review, I would like to see more of that sort of thing. So this was quite a pleasant one to do. Highly recommend both of these games. Amazing trophy lists, amazing games. Next up, we have the Star Wars Battlefront 2, one of the first games I streamed. It's okay. By the time you got to do the level 50 trophy, you kind of have done everything in the game and it's sort of a bit boring. I believe there was a thing where they did double XP on a Wednesday or something. So that's essentially how I grinded that out. You can see it took me 2 months. If I had done it all very quickly, it probably would have taken less than a week. But it's an okay game. Star Wars Racer is amazing. I know there's a lot of ways you can sort of cheese the game by using cheats and stuff, but it's a fun racing game. It's I did use some of the cheats just to upgrade my my ships and all that sort of fun stuff, because grinding the currency is kind of boring, but the actual gameplay itself is really, really, really fun. Highly recommend this one. Star Wars Fallen Order. Actually, to be perfectly honest with you, Star Wars games on PS4, even if half of them are remasters, They're actually pretty good. We've got a good lineup here because Fallen Order is... It's a baby's first Souls game, but it's a good one. The combat is solid. The worlds are solid. Dathomir still haunts my dreams in how confusing that place is. The boss fights are very fun. The collectibles kind of suck. Navigating the map kind of sucks from memory, but overall, that's an amazing game. Highly, highly recommend it. We've got Star Wars Republic Commando next, which is a remaster of a game from way, 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 way back in the day. I was a wee young'un. I still had hair when this came out. It's a great game. I really love Star Wars Republic Commando. It's got a cliffhanger that we've been waiting for like 15 years. Someone just write a book or something just to conclude. I want to know what happens. Highly recommend this one. It's an awesome one. It's an easy platinum, but it's an amazing game. You will enjoy Republic Commando. Go do it. Go do it. I'm watching. You better. You better. Next up, we've got Stranded Deep. Don't play Stranded Deep, play The Forest. It's a better game. This is a clone of The Forest, but it's set on tropical islands instead. The trophy list sucks. There's a trophy to have 2 of each type of animal on your raft in a storm. That took me days to pull off because the trophy A just wouldn't pop. B, the storm would tip your raft in 2 seconds. And C, the trophy randomly popped on me on a sunny day with no rain in sight. So... it's not very polished. The UI is not good. I think the game promotes that it has multiplayer. When I did it at the very least, it didn't have multiplayer. That wasn't a thing at all. So yeah, don't do this one. Not great. Subnautica is a better one, actually. Subnautica is a better water survival game. I will admit I did use the dev commands for the platinum because it doesn't run the best on PS4. I played that game to death on PC. So I had played the game and had the experience of playing the game and the story prior. I look forward to doing Subnautica 2 legit in the future because I haven't tried that one yet. I did use the dev commands for this one, but it's a fun game. It's definitely interesting. The story is pretty interesting. I would recommend Subnautica. I still think The Forest is the best of the sort of survival games on Sony systems, but I haven't tried Green Hell yet. So if you've tried Green Hell, do let me know in the comments if it is worth playing. Next up, we have Terminator Resistance. There it is, still working out the scroll thing. It's a easy peasy Terminator game. It's kind of very uninspired. It's very bland. It's very clunky, but it's a Terminator game. It's good. I call them like popcorn games where you sort of just shut your brain off and enjoy yourself, and it'll fit the bill. It's nice and easy. And now we get into my big project. This is one I've been working on for about 6 months on and off. The Elder Scrolls Online. I will get this platinum. I will. It's just slow and steady wins the race with this beast. I love this game. I think it is amazing. I'm not a big MMO player. I don't really have much in the way of an interest for MMOs. But this is one I really enjoy. It feels like... it's the same feeling I got playing Skyrim as a wee lad back when that came out. And it's very fun exploring Tamriel and all of the different areas of the game. The stories, the zone stories and stuff are very fun. The PvP is rough. I'm sure you've all heard of Emperor at this point. It's a grueling trophy, but this is probably going to be the crown jewel when I eventually get this platinum. And it'll come in time, probably in years, but this is one that I'll probably do more content on, realistically. Next up, we have The Evil Within. I did the first game on stream. I don't like the first game very much. It's got a weird, frame stutter thing. Like, every time you move, the frame rate kind of dies a little on the inside, which is funny because I was dying on the inside playing this game. Yeah, it's not that great. Just play The Evil Within 2, which is a step up. It's the same thing. It's horror. You're trying to work out some stuff in a brain simulator thingy. Not much to really say. Trophies are upgrading your character in various ways and upgrading your gun in various ways. I recommend this one. I don't recommend the first one. The Forest. I love The Forest. I don't know how it's an ultra rare because it is not a hard game. You crash land on a forest. You're trying to find your little kid. I call him Timmy. You've got some rough trophies. There's one where you've got to survive 100 days. Just AFK that. Just get the creative mode. You get creative for beating the game. It does have a story. Beat that the first time. You're going to open up some ways of doing the rest of the game in creative, which makes a lot of the trophies quite easy, like crafting and stuff, because you're not worrying about eating or drinking or any of that sort of fun stuff. But this game is a blast. It's co-op. You can play it with your mates. I highly recommend The Forest. This is another Simmy seal of approval. Next up, we've got The Order 1886. I know a lot of people don't like The Order. I do. I got it for like $3. So for that price, I did really enjoy this game. I wish we got a sequel because I love that setting. I said it before. I love that sort of 18th, 19th century sort of setting. This was a game that was very, very interesting and very cinematic. It's a shame we never got a sequel. The Park is next. It's a easy peasy horror. You're in a theme park at night trying to find your kid. I call him Timmy. Timmy gets away a lot. Timmy's a little rascal. Yeah, the trophies are just sort of, you get them for walking through the park. There's nothing special. I don't think there's anything missable. It's okay. I only really played it because I saw Achievement Hunter play it way back in the day. The next one here, we got The Sims 4. It was a PS Plus game. It had easy ways of doing the trophies. I started playing it because, I like those sorts of sim games, like City Skylines, all that sort of stuff. So this was one that interested me. Thank God it's got the gallery feature because this thing runs like poo on consoles. It was like, hey, you want to open the fridge? You better wait 2 minutes while the frame rate sorts itself out. It made control look polished. So yeah, this was one that I started, I had good intentions, and then I just used the gallery thing to get a lot of the trophies. The Sinking City. I love this game. It's a funny game. It does so much right, but it does some really important things wrong. This is a game where it's another Lovecraftian one. You're going to a mysterious island city to work out some murders. That sounds familiar, I know. But this one's interesting. It's more open world, so you're sort of going to places, and you're not told where you're going. You've got to go to the library or the police station or the hospital to get medical records of people who could potentially be victims. Through that sort of stuff, you then work out, their address and stuff off of medical records, or, the address of a building from a newspaper from several years earlier and stuff like that. There's a lot of whodunit stuff that you're sort of piecing together. Really awesome. The combat sucks. There's a lot of combat. It's very, very clunky, but overall The Sinking City is an amazing game, and I highly recommend it. The Witcher 3 is next. For a while, I was one of the faster sort of achievers. I think I was in the top 25. I don't think I am anymore. An amazing game. I have that platinum quite a few times over the years on various different accounts. Because before I had symmetry, I grew up rural. I grew up on a farm, so I didn't have internet, really. We did have internet, but not enough to really play online. So I had a lot of accounts that were sort of just local to a console that then got lost over the years. The Witcher 3 is one of those games I did on those consoles. I love this game. The DLC is amazing. The story is amazing. The side content is really good. I love a good open world that looks like it could be real. Things make sense. You've got fields and stuff near settlements so that they can eat. You've got mills so that, you've got the wheat goes to a mill that then goes to the city or something like that. This was a game that absolutely filled those sorts of expectations for me. I still think The Witcher 2 has a more interesting campaign, if I'm honest. But The Witcher 3 is an amazing one. I very much look forward to the PS5 remake and to even try Cyberpunk. I've heard that that game is not awful on PS5 anymore, so that's one I'll probably try in the not too distant future. Next up is Titanfall 2. I'm sure you can guess which trophy I don't have. It's the Gauntlet. The rest of this game is incredible. I love the campaign. I think the multiplayer's like hacked or something. I think people did some dodgy stuff there. So sort of keep in mind that might not be great. But the single player is fantastic. The Gauntlet sucks. and I haven't gone back to it. I should at some point. Tom Clancy is up next, Rainbow Six Siege. Very fun game. I played the hell out of this on PC back in the day. I went back to it at the start of this year just to sort of see what I thought. I still love the game. I find it hard to get back into just because there's so many different operators and stuff these days that it's hard for me to sort of, know what's what, but I'll get that platinum eventually. It's not a terribly hard one. It's just kind of grindy. Yeah, very fun game. Highly recommend. Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. This is the one of the reboot series that I like. The multiplayer sucks. You're going to spend about 15 hours taking a med kit from point A to point B, but the story itself is really good. Lara's a good character in this one. The story is interesting. They didn't go too over the top with the open world sort of aspects, and thus this one is actually fairly enjoyable. I would recommend Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. Next up is Tropico 5. I started this for a competition. I will get back to this fairly soon at some point. It's the sort of game I really like, those sort of city and sim management sort of building games where you build a city on a map. It's okay. There's not much to really say about it. It's kind of like a Discount City Skylines where you sort of deal with the more political side of stuff. The trophies are a lot of doing stuff in various different eras. So like, doing stuff during a post-war era compared to a modern era and stuff like that. It's not difficult. It's probably not deserving of the 2.14% rarity. I will get around to it at some point. You can do a lot of stuff in sandbox mode from memory, so I'll probably breeze through it at some point very, very soon. Next up is 12 Minutes. 12 Minutes is an indie game where you have 12 minutes in your apartment to work out what's going on before a dude rocks up, before Willem Dafoe rocks up and kicks your ass. So it's interesting, but it's one of those ones where it has so many trophies tied to endings that by the time you're done, you have done some of those scenarios like 7 or 8 times, and it gets very, very tedious. Also, the ending is stupid. It's really stupid. But it's fun. I would recommend 12 Minutes. Just don't expect it to be a masterpiece. Ultimate Chicken Horse is next. This is an amazing game. It's essentially you and your mates setting up an obstacle course of death and destruction to get to a finish line. You try to set it up so that you'll get to the end, but everyone else will die brutally. And it's an absolute laugh. It's not a difficult platinum. I believe the NA version is actually an ultra rare. So if you're in America, there's an easy ultra rare for you that's a lot of fun. Get your mates around for it and have a fucking blast. It is a fantastic one. We now get into the Uncharted's. I haven't done the brutal difficulty of any of them. I believe it's the only trophy I've left. It is the only trophy I've left for the original trilogy. Uncharted 4, I still have some of the DLC to do. I really enjoy these games. They're essentially Indiana Jones if he was a video game. They're very, very fun. You've got a lot of collectible and combat sort of specific trophies. You got multiple difficulties to do, but they're all great games. I would highly recommend these. I really enjoy the Uncharted series. Next up, we have Unpacking. Oh wow, we're nearly at the end of the list here. I bet you're sick of my voice. Unpacking is next. You unpack. You've got several levels, which are different eras of a lady's life. And so you're unpacking her furniture into the house. You've got to do it in very specific spots, which kind of sucks because you can't unpack the house how you would like, unless I found that there is an option in the menu that you can turn on just putting items anywhere you want. And that made the game a hell of a lot more fun because I could be like I am in real life and just throw stuff everywhere. But it's a very enjoyable game. Very unique. I'd never really played anything like Unpacking. I'm glad that was recommended to me. Next up is Vampire. Vampire is a game that exists. This game is hurt by its trophy list. You play a vampire who is a doctor in the 1930s, I want to say it was. It might be a little bit earlier. It might be like just post-war. And you're trying to work out who made you a vampire, essentially. That's the story. But you level up by eating people, right? You feed off people, you get XP. There's a trophy for never eating a single person the whole game, which means the entire game you're about 15 levels under level, and that makes some of the boss fights suck. It's a rough one. I've also never experienced a game that once you have beaten the game the first time and go to clean up collectibles and stuff, I've never experienced a game that broke as hard as this one did. It was crashing every 20 minutes. It was a rough one to get through once I'd beaten the game. I do still recommend it. I like Vampire. I like the setting. It's an interesting game. The combat is kind of Dark Souls-y but crap. But I still think it's worth a play. And we now move into another guilty pleasure series of mine. Watch Dogs 1, 2, and Legion. I love Watch Dogs 1. I love Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs Legion, there is a glitch. That game doesn't actually exist. Very fun games. They've got some rough multiplayer. It's nice to see they're not unobtainable at the moment. I do know PSMP had Watch Dogs 1's multiplayer flagged as unobtainable for a good month or so there. These are very, very fun games. You can see I did Watch Dogs 1 and 2's platinums in very quick succession. And then Legion, I did all three in very quick succession. Wow, I have no life. Legion's rough. Don't do Legion. It doesn't have a campaign. It doesn't have a story. It's got some fun gameplay, but it doesn't. It's like Primal. It's like Far Cry Primal. It doesn't really hold up enough to be worth playing. Next up is What Remains of Edith Finch. This was a fun kind of investigator. It was free on PS Plus. It's very unique. I really enjoyed What Remains of Edith Finch. I'd highly recommend it. The trophies are essentially just doing certain things while solving different what happened to various members of a family. Now we're getting to the Wolfensteins. Wolfenstein: The New Order is an amazing first-person shooter. Very, very interesting. You've got a lot of they've all got very simple trophies, really. It's kill a bunch of people, level up a lot. The Old Blood, all I have left is the combat challenges. They're not particularly difficult. I just don't like combat challenges, and I'm lazy. It's a recurring theme, I know. I promise I'll get better. I promise I will get better. But yeah, so that's why I haven't done the Old Blood. Young Blood, the only reason I don't have this more is Peter from Missing Collectible abandoned me during our boost of that, and so I'm just waiting for him to get back to it with me. You know, it's a rough time, I know. It's an E rank on my account. It hurts my soul, which I think is why he abandoned me in this one. We'll both get back to it at some point. It's probably as bad as what people said. The two main characters are so cringe, but I do like the kind of more open worldy sort of nature of the campaign, and I do have Wolfenstein 2 ready to go at some point. I'm supposed to do a challenge with someone for that game at some point, so we'll see how that goes. It could take a while. It might be a quick one. I'm not entirely sure. Next up is Wreckfest. This is a game I'm currently doing the platinum on. I may even get the platinum today. All I have left is to get to level 50, which is nice and easy, really. It's just kind of grindy. It's a Demolition Derby racer. I really recommend it. I'm not a big racer fan myself, but this is quite a fun one. There is something truly special about a race where you play in a big rig truck and the NPCs are all lawnmowers and you're just destroying them. It's very, very fun. The soundtrack for this game is amazing. It sort of harkens back to if you ever played the MX versus AVT games on PlayStation 2 and stuff like that, and they had the sort of cheesy rock albums. This is one of those. Like the WWE games were very good for it as well. So I would highly recommend Wreckfest. Next up, we've got XCOM 2 here. I love XCOM 2. I've played this game a lot. I've done all the hard stuff. I don't know why I just haven't sat down and got the platinum. I've done the Iron Man difficulties. I've done the beating the game before July. I've done the beating the game with only conventional weapons, which is where you don't upgrade your weapons. I haven't done the basic stuff. I haven't done the tutorial and stuff just because I was like, oh, well, I don't need that. And I've just never really gone back. I have the DLC as well. I've never played the DLC. That's one I do really look forward to eventually doing. But Yeah, it's a game I'll get back to eventually. And last but not least is Zombie Army Trilogy. I've done the multiplayer stuff, but it's just sort of fun game to play by yourself. It's like it's like Left 4 Dead, but with Sniper Elite gameplay. So you got zombies coming your way, and you're sort of slowly picking them off with a sniper rifle or your assault rifles and stuff. It's okay. When I have someone to play that with, I'll probably finish it, because it's just, the only reason I've stopped is it's really boring to play by yourself. You can play with up to 4 people. So if you want to play that with me, give me a buzz. Let me know in the comments. Maybe we can do that. And that's the list. That's we're done. We're finished. We made it. If you got to the end here, let me know in the comments. I really, really appreciate it. I might do more of this sort of stuff. If you would like your list done, maybe I'll do like one a week. I am looking into doing more trophy content, so maybe some like highlight videos of games that get platinums in that I think are worth doing. So like, you know, if I was to get Return of the Obra Dinn now, for example, that would be one I would absolutely do a trophy video on. Yeah, maybe some more sort of stuff like that. Maybe some top 10s, you know, ranking the Assassin's Creed platinums or something like that. But if you made it to the end of the list here, thank you so much. Yeah, do let me know if you want your list done. We have a Discord. I'm sure I'll have that in the About section. Do go in there and let me know if you want your list there, or do you pop in and say good day while I'm streaming as well. I do a lot of content on twitch.tv/symmetry. You can see it below my name somewhere there. I'm not a pro. I'm not good at this preparation thing, but yeah, do let me know what you think of my list, and I'll see you in the next video. I miss you already. Try not to miss me too much, and I'll see you then.